that autumn wind. Shout out to the Raiders, man, we about to win.
What's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and I have a recap, Week 8 grades, winners and losers from the Raiders' Week 8 loss to the Houston Texans. It was a tough loss overall. I'm actually pretty disappointed. I would like to come on here and say I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, but I am mad. This is a game that the Raiders ultimately should have won. They controlled, I thought, from start until the last 6 minutes of the game. So the Raiders, they fall to 3-4 here, losing to the Houston Texans 24-27. I actually thought Derek Carr played pretty well, 285 yards, 3 touchdowns. If y'all want to hate on Derek, get out of here because I don't think he deserves it. Sure, the beginning of the game was rough for him, but ultimately I don't think Derek deserves the hate. Josh Jacobs, 15 carries, 66 yards. Tyrell Williams, 3 catches, 91 yards. Good to see him back fully healthy. But what it came down to in this game is the defense couldn't get stops when we needed to get stops. So let's get into my grades now. So this show is all about the interaction. So for those of you that are watching us live on YouTube, I appreciate you. So I want you to grade the Raiders offense right now. Throw it A, B, C, D, or F in the comments section. Let me hear your grades from the offense. So before I give my grade, I want to hear from y'all. Grade the Raiders offense versus the Texans. A, B, C, D, or F. My grade for the Raiders offense is a B-. I really wanted to be able to come up here and give them a higher grade, but then I also was like, Mitch, maybe you should give them a lower grade. I still think putting up 24 points is pretty good. The reason why I kept it as a B- is for this reason and this reason only. The Raiders lost Rodney Hudson. They're arguably their best offensive player on the team. So the fact that you lose arguably your centerpiece of your team, the center of your offensive line, that's a big hit. And as soon as that happened, the offensive line changed. So we put up 24 points. The passing yards, 285. Total yards, 378. The time of possession, I think, is actually rather frustrating at 24 minutes. We just couldn't sustain any long drives. Luckily, Hunter Renfrow had a big touchdown play here, and you'll see him here in a little bit. But the Raiders, for me, it was a B- grade. Derek, though, coming into the game, I thought was, ultimately was coming into the game was doing pretty well. So this is his stats before the season. 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 74.1 completion percentage. And ultimately, I think Derek played pretty well. But these are Derek Carr's stats coming into the game. Josh Jacobs, this is what he did coming into the game. 54. This is what Derek did in this game. 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 18 of 30. Hunter Renfrow in this game I thought stepped up also. He had 4 catches, 488 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets. He had that big touchdown catch for 65 yards. Josh in this game, 15 carries for 66 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. Darren Waller, though, he did get a touchdown, but targeted 8 times and caught 2 of them. Coming into the game, Darren Waller had 50 targets and 44 catches. So he had more, unsuccessful targets in this game than he did coming into the entire year. Tyrell Williams, good to see him finally back. 3 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. Did come up with some big plays, 30 yards per catch there for Tyrell. Good to see he's back on the field. So, Raider Nation, I appreciate y'all watching. Sure, it is a tough loss. The easiest way to get over a loss for me is honestly interacting with y'all, talking to you guys about how the game went overall. So currently we're at 30,422 subscribers. I want to get to 35K subscribers. We'll do some more giveaways. I want to be able to go to Raiders versus Jags. I want to be able to take a giant duffel bag of Raider Nation store gifts and be able to give them out there. But in order for me to be able to go to Raiders versus Jags, we got to hit 35K subscribers by December 1st. So let's get there, 30,422. Let's talk about the defense now. Let me take a drink. Defense. What would you give the defense? This was a game that I thought the Raiders were in control. And going into halftime, we're up 14-10. And I actually think my grade might be a little bit too easy on the Oakland Raiders. But here's the thing. I'm going to give them a C+. The reason why I'm going to give the Oakland Raiders defense a C+ and not anything lower is because I thought the defense played well for 3 quarters. However, the defense did not play very well in the 4th quarter when it mattered the most. Now, the defense was asked to do a lot. When you're on the field for 35 minutes, I don't know if that's so much your fault or if it's much as our offense not being able to sustain drives. At the end of the game, though, I'm going to point to a horrible roughing the passer call that was called against Max Crosby, where the dude, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on my Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365, where he's literally going in to sack Deshaun Watson and pulls up. He literally pulls away. The NFL needs to figure out what these roughing the passer calls are doing, because it's sad. It's sad what I have to watch every single day, and I feel like I do a Raiders show every day, and we talk about some bullshit call because our players hit a quarterback who is a very good quarterback. I mean, think about the bad penalties. You had one against Patrick Mahomes, one against Aaron Rodgers. Now you got one against Deshaun Watson. I get that they're good quarterbacks, but you can't just call roughing the passer call on a quarterback just because he's very good. And that ultimately, that play call led to the Texans touchdown at the end of the game. So I am frustrated with the defense. They get a C+ grade from me. So Watson today was 200 for 79 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He also added 46 yards on the ground. There are certain players who you can try to stop, but you just don't stop. You can only contain them. I think Deshaun Watson is having an MVP caliber season. I think he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's doing a great job. But the Raiders still need to be able to start stopping some of these quarterbacks. But Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins, I would argue right now, might be arguably the best wide receiver quarterback combination in the entire league. I mean, 11 catches, 109 yards. It was a big task for Darren Waller. But overall, these are matchups that we need to start locking down and start winning a little bit more often. But DeAndre and Deshaun, they're great players. Special teams here, we'll get their grade out of the way. It's a C. It's average. Wasn't anything great. Wasn't anything terrible. A.J. Cole punted well. Daniel Carlson kicked well. But we're not going to win games because our special teams kicker. So I'm upset that the Raiders win. And I hate watching the Raiders lose, especially in a game where between you and me, the Raiders should have won that football game. Now, if there's anything that I hate more than watching the Raiders lose, it's watching the Raiders lose and having to watch commercials as well. If you guys want to get rid of commercials for good, go to My TV Choice, okay? My TV Choice is a free app. Download it today at chatsports.com/mytv. You can get rid of commercials. You download the app to your phone. It syncs to your television. Once the games that you're watching go to commercial break, you don't get horrible commercials. You get content from us instead at Chat Sports. But you got to go to chatsports.com/mytv. So we're going to talk about some winners, and we're also going to talk about some losers here. So let's go to the rumor list here about some. We'll do a countdown of the Raiders' biggest winners and the Raiders' biggest losers. I'll basically count you down how it would go. So we'll give you guys the winners. We'll give you guys the losers. So my first winner we'll get into here in just a second here. It's just to be frank, it's in the rumor list. So the Raiders Week 8 winners and the Raiders Week 8 losers. So the first one is Trayvon Mullen. So Trayvon Mullen ultimately is a player who I think stepped up and played pretty well. He was asked to do a lot today after not starting. I mean, we know we traded Gareon Conley, and then you have to ask Trayvon Mullen to step up. So Trayvon Mullen I actually thought played pretty well overall. And was a player who I would consider my Gruden grinder. He was asked to step in when we needed him to step in. And ultimately, when we needed him to step up and make a few plays, I thought he did. My next Week 8 winner, Hunter Renfrow, I thought he impressed me. We needed somebody to step up because we knew Tyrell Williams was battling some injuries. Darren Waller ultimately didn't have his best game. So when I think about a player that impressed me, I think of a player like Hunter Renfrow who had 88 yards, had a touchdown, had that really clutch touchdown where kind of got the momentum going. The game started rather slow and then ultimately sped up a little bit. So I liked Hunter Renfrow here. He had 4 targets. He had 4 catches, 488 yards, and a touchdown. A player that impressed me. Also, Trayvon Mullen was my Gruden grinder. So we're going over now our Week 8 winners and our Week 8 losers. I'll get into my losers here in a second. My Gruden grinder was Trayvon Mullen. A player that impressed me the most was Hunter Renfrow. And then my Week 8 MVP, which we'll get into here into a second, for the Oakland Raiders, it was Derek Carr. I actually thought Derek started out very slow, and I wanted to be able to give it to a player like Josh Jacobs, but unfortunately, the Raiders went away from it. I think if the Raiders could have stayed with their running game, if Rodney Hudson would have been healthy, that would have been great. But my MVP for the Raiders, I know some people are like, oh, Derek didn't get the win, but I thought Derek played very well. He started out slow. First 4 passes, incompletions. Then he was 1 for 6. His first pass was to Zay Jones for 12 yards. But after that, I thought Derek stepped up. You had the 283 yards, the 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I'm not just saying this because his stats are pretty. I actually thought Derek played a very good game today. And unfortunately, the Raiders could not come a win with a W. So the over-under in this game was 51.5 points. Raiders at the Texans. I told y'all to bet the under. I'm trying to do the math in my head. What is 24 plus 27? You guys can do the math. I took the Raiders to cover the spread. The Raiders did cover the spread. The Houston Texans, they were favorited by -7. And hopefully, y'all took the Raiders to win this game. Or hopefully, you took the Raiders to cover this game. And you did it at BetDSI. Chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code Raiders120 for 120% deposit bonus. I'm upset that the Raiders lost 100%. For Chucky Heads, believe it, baby. But at least I took the Raiders to cover this game, and I'm at least going to be able to make some money, get some food money, where I'm going to be out and go out and get some food, get some drinks. Tough loss for the Raiders, but guess what? I'm still going to bleed silver and black. So let's go down to my Week 8 losers. A player that I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed in is Lamarcus Joyner. Lamarcus Joyner needs to start playing better. I don't know what else we can do. I don't know if it's the Paul Gunther system. I don't want to sit here and say I'm mad at Lamarcus for playing bad, but he's giving up way too many plays. Way too many plays. We went out. We made him a captain. Lamarcus, you need to start stepping up. I'm done. I'm done watching you get roasted on long plays. Step up, earn your money, represent the C on your jersey, because I'm getting frustrated. Next loser. And I'll say this. It's a loss, not a loser. The offensive line of the Oakland Raiders. Losing Rodney Hudson is a major loss. He held his ankle. He got rolled up on. When I get more information on ultimately what happened with Rodney Hudson, I'll let y'all know. But I don't want to say the offensive line. I'm not saying Rodney Hudson is a loser. But losing Rodney Hudson is a major, major loss, which is why I'm putting it on the show. The LVP in this game, and I don't care that the Texans won this football game. If you watch the game, my LVP in this game is Gareon Conley, because I thought Gareon looked bad again. And I'll still say this, the Raiders won the Gareon Conley trade. Y'all can hate on me for putting Gareon Conley on the show, but Gareon Conley got roasted by Tyrell Williams, was getting roasted by our receivers, and I don't think he looked very good. Sure, he made a play at the end of the game, but if you watch the game from start, basically to finish, I don't think Gareon Conley looked good at all. And the reason why he's a loser in this sense for me is because the Raiders won this trade. The Raiders won the Houston Texans trade, where now we get a 3rd-round pick where we can look to move on and get some better options, because Gareon Conley seems disinterested in me. And if this is what he showed up and tried to do, to probably show the Raiders that, hey, you guys lost this trade, if that's what I have to watch all day, I'm glad I don't have to see Gareon Conley in silver and black anymore. So I think we won this trade. I think Gareon Conley's a loser in this game. If you guys don't like my winners and losers, y'all can hit me up on IG. Y'all can hit me up on Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365. We can debate what you guys think. If you guys don't like my offensive, defensive, special teams grades, guess what? The cool thing that we do here on the Raiders Report ultimately is the interaction of this show. So I want you guys to throw in the comments who you think is a winner, and I want you to comment who you think is an ultimate loser. So I think that we won the Gareon Conley trade. So here are my Week 8 winners. I had Trayvon Mullen. He's my Gruden grinder. Thought he stepped up big in this game. Hunter Renfrow, another winner, where I thought he impressed me. He stepped up big when we needed, a big-time play. And then Derek Carr, quarterback who also stepped up clutch for us. And then my Week 8 losers. Lamarcus Joyner needs to just start playing better, man. I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed that we're not getting what we paid for. Offensive line is a loser for the simple reason that we lost Rodney Hudson. The offensive line I still thought played pretty well, but losing Rodney Hudson's a big-time loss. And I think Gareon Conley's a loser because, well, we won that trade, and Gareon got roasted today by Tyrell Williams. So here are our next 5 games. Next 5 games, the Raiders need to start winning. We are currently 3-4. Week 9 versus the Lions. I'll be there. If you want to hang out with me, you want to grab a beer, hit me up on IG at Mitchell Renz 365. Week 10 versus the Chargers. That's a Thursday night football game. That needs to be a win. Bengals needs to be a win. Jets needs to be a win. Chiefs, not an easy game. We'll see how Patrick Mahomes is. I expect him to be back by then. So I am anticipating 4 out of the next 5 weeks to be wins. We got to get 4 out of the next 5, especially if we want to make the playoffs. So if y'all are going to Raiders versus Lions, hit me up on IG At Mitchell Renz 365, type Y for yes, type N for no. If you're not going to the game, let me know to a game that you are going to. I'm trying to go to the Bengals game. I'm also going to try to go to the Jags game, but it depends. You guys have to subscribe. We got to get the subscriber counts up at youtube.com/Raiders Report. But if you are going to the Raiders game versus the Lions this next week, hit me up on IG or Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. So, Raider Nation, what's going on? Is this the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube? For Chucky Heads, believe it, baby. And if you haven't already, subscribe right here. I'm giving you Chucky Heads, news, rumors, Raider Nation rumors. And look at this, I'm making your life easier. Check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.